Have you ever had a feeling about something and later realized you were right all along? You couldn't explain it, you couldn't prove it, you just felt it, but then your mind stepped in. What if I'm wrong? Maybe I'm overthinking. What will other people think? And suddenly, that quiet inner knowing disappeared beneath 1,000 different thoughts. But here's the truth. Your intuition doesn't usually compete with the noise. It speaks quietly, and the more disconnected you become from yourself, the harder it becomes to hear. So, what if you could learn to recognize that quiet voice again? What if you could become so connected to yourself that you could distinguish intuition from fear, anxiety, and overthinking? Today, we're going to explore how to strengthen your intuition, how to recognize your inner guidance, and how to begin trusting yourself again. Welcome back to Rise and Radiate. Let's begin. What is intuition really? Intuition is often described as a feeling of knowing without consciously reasoning through every detail. Sometimes it's that immediate sense that something feels right. Sometimes it's a feeling that something doesn't feel right. Sometimes it's an idea that suddenly appears in your mind. And sometimes it's simply the feeling that says, wait, or go, or this isn't for me anymore. Intuition doesn't always tell you exactly what will happen. Instead, it can help you become more aware of what you're experiencing in the present. And one of the most important things to understand is this. Intuition is not the same as impulse. An impulse can be loud, urgent, and emotionally charged. Intuition can be quiet. It often gives you space to choose. 1. Create silence. The first way to strengthen your intuition is simple. Create silence. We live surrounded by noise, notifications, social media, opinions, messages, videos, news, other people's expectations, and sometimes we're so busy listening to everyone else, we've forgotten what our own voice sounds like. You don't have to spend hours meditating. Start with 5 or 10 quiet minutes. Sit somewhere peaceful, put your phone away, take a few slow breaths, and ask yourself, what am I really feeling right now? Don't force an answer, just listen. Intuition often becomes easier to notice when your mind isn't constantly being interrupted. 2. Stop asking everyone else what you should do. One of the fastest ways to lose touch with your intuition is constantly asking other people for permission. What would you do? Do you think I should? Is this the right decision? Advice can be valuable. Other people's perspectives can help us see things we don't notice ourselves. But if you ask everyone else before you ever ask yourself, you may slowly forget how to make decisions from within. Before asking someone else what they think, pause and ask, what do I think? What do I feel? What do I already know? You don't need to have every answer. You simply need to start including your own voice in the conversation. 3. Learn the difference between intuition and fear. This is one of the most important parts of developing intuition, because sometimes fear sounds like intuition. Fear says, don't do it. Something terrible will happen. Intuition may say, this doesn't feel right. Fear often creates urgency. Intuition may create awareness. Fear can make you imagine endless worst-case scenarios. Intuition can be much simpler. It's often a quiet sense of, yes, no, wait, something needs to change. Of course, intuition isn't infallible. You can misread feelings. Past experiences can influence your reactions. Anxiety can feel convincing. That's why intuition shouldn't be treated as an unquestionable voice. Instead, let it be information. Pause, reflect, look at the facts, then make your decision consciously. 4. Pay attention to your body. Your body often notices things before your conscious mind has fully processed them. Have you ever walked into a room and immediately felt uncomfortable? Or spoken to someone and suddenly felt yourself becoming tense? Sometimes your body is responding to subtle cues you haven't consciously identified yet. So begin noticing your physical reactions. Does your body feel relaxed? Tense? Heavy? Restless? Open? Contracted? Don't assume every physical sensation is a spiritual message. Your body can also react to stress, exhaustion, memories, and anxiety. But learning to notice these sensations gives you more information about your internal state, and awareness is the beginning of intuition. 5. Journal your inner knowing. Here's a simple practice that can completely change your relationship with your intuition. Keep an intuition journal. Whenever you have a strong inner feeling, write it down. For example, I have a feeling I shouldn't accept this opportunity. Or, I feel like I need to have this conversation. Then write down what happened afterward. Over time, you'll begin to see patterns. Maybe your intuition was accurate in certain situations. Maybe you discovered that sometimes your fear was speaking instead. Maybe you'll learn what different emotional sensations feel like in your own body. This is important because you build trust through experience. 6. Keep the promises you make to yourself. This one is often overlooked. How can you trust yourself if you constantly ignore yourself? You say you'll rest, but keep pushing. You say you'll leave, but keep returning. You say you'll start, but keep postponing. Every time you ignore your own needs, your self-trust can become weaker. And every time you keep a healthy promise to yourself, it becomes stronger. You don't have to make huge promises. Start small. If you tell yourself you'll take a walk, take the walk. If you need rest, rest. If you know something isn't healthy for you, honor that awareness. Self-trust is built one decision at a time. 7. Stop rushing your decisions. Sometimes intuition needs space. When you're overwhelmed, don't force yourself to decide immediately. Take a step back. Sleep on it. Go for a walk. Pray. Journal. Take some quiet time. Ask yourself, would I still choose this if I weren't afraid? And, would I still choose this if nobody else had an opinion? Those questions can reveal things you couldn't see in the middle of emotional chaos. 8. Notice what brings you peace. Pay attention to the choices that create a deeper sense of alignment, not temporary excitement, not validation, not the feeling of impressing everyone, but genuine peace. Maybe saying no to something feels uncomfortable, but afterward you feel lighter. Maybe walking away from something feels painful, but deep down, you know it was necessary. Sometimes the right choice doesn't feel easy. It simply feels honest, and honesty creates clarity. 9. Don't confuse intuition with wishful thinking. This is especially important when you're deeply invested in an outcome. Maybe you desperately want someone to come back. You want a certain opportunity. You want a particular dream to happen. And then every little coincidence starts to feel like confirmation. This is where we need grounding. Ask yourself, am I sensing something? Or am I hoping for something? There's nothing wrong with hope, but hope and intuition are not the same thing. Your intuition doesn't exist to tell you what you want to hear. Sometimes the inner guidance you need is the exact opposite. Sometimes it says, let go, wait, move on, try something different. And that can be difficult to hear, but it can also be liberating. 10. Spend time alone. You don't have to isolate yourself, but you do need moments where you aren't constantly absorbing other people's energy, opinions, and expectations. Take yourself somewhere peaceful. Go for a walk. Sit in nature. Drink your tea without your phone. Write in your journal. Pray. Reflect. Ask yourself, who am I when I'm not trying to impress anyone? What do I actually want? What kind of life feels meaningful to me? The more comfortable you become with your own company, the easier it becomes to hear your own thoughts. 11. Practice trusting yourself with small decisions. You don't have to begin with a life-changing decision. Start small. What do you want to eat? Do you need rest? Do you want to attend that gathering? Do you actually want to say yes? Small decisions create opportunities to practice listening to yourself, and eventually, you become more comfortable hearing your own voice. 12. Let your intuition be a guide, not a master. This may be the most important lesson of all. Don't turn intuition into another thing you become dependent on. You don't need to see a sign before making every decision. You don't need repeating numbers. You don't need a dream. You don't need a coincidence. And you don't need someone else to tell you what your intuition means. You can listen to yourself and still use logic. You can be spiritual and still be grounded. You can trust your feelings while checking the facts. That's not a lack of faith, that's wisdom. A simple daily intuition practice. Here's a practice you can begin today. Every morning, sit quietly for a few minutes. Take 3 slow breaths. Put your hand over your heart if that feels comfortable. And ask, what do I need to know today? Don't force an answer. Just notice what comes up. Then write down one word, one feeling, or one thought. At night, ask, when did I feel most aligned today? And when did I ignore myself? Do this consistently, not because you'll suddenly become capable of predicting the future, but because you'll become more familiar with yourself. And that is where self-trust begins. What happens when you start trusting your inner guidance? You may begin saying no without feeling guilty. You may stop chasing people who don't reciprocate. You may become more comfortable walking away from situations that drain you. You may begin choosing opportunities that actually reflect your values. And perhaps most importantly, you stop looking outside yourself for constant validation. You realize, I can listen to advice without abandoning myself. That's powerful, because intuition isn't about becoming someone who never makes mistakes. It's about becoming someone who can hear themselves clearly enough to make conscious choices and learn from whatever happens next. The deepest form of intuition. Perhaps intuition isn't about knowing exactly what will happen tomorrow. Perhaps it's about being deeply connected to who you are today. When you understand your values, your patterns, your emotions, your boundaries, your desires, and your fears, you become better at recognizing what is aligned with you. And suddenly, the question changes. Instead of, what is the universe trying to tell me? You begin asking, what am I being invited to notice within myself? And that is a much deeper journey. So the next time you feel that quiet inner nudge, don't immediately dismiss it. Pause, breathe, listen, but don't blindly follow it either. Bring curiosity, bring wisdom, bring awareness, ask questions, look at the facts, and then choose. Because trusting yourself doesn't mean believing that every feeling is correct. It means knowing yourself well enough to listen and being grounded enough to discern. Your intuition may whisper, your mind may question, your fear may shout. But with practice, you can learn to recognize the difference. And perhaps the greatest transformation isn't when you finally learn to predict what's coming. It's when you finally stop abandoning yourself in the present. You stop asking everyone else who you should be. You stop waiting for permission. You stop ignoring what you already know deep inside. And you begin walking through life with a quieter mind, a stronger heart, and a deeper trust in yourself. So tonight, before you sleep, ask yourself one simple question. What have I been trying to tell myself that I've been too afraid to hear? Then be still, listen, and give yourself permission to hear the answer. Because sometimes, the guidance you've been searching for isn't somewhere outside you. It's been within you all along. If this video resonated with you, share in the comments. Have you ever had an intuition that turned out to be right? Your story might be exactly what someone else needs to hear today. And don't forget to like this video, subscribe to Rise and Radiate, and continue this journey of self-discovery, intuition, manifestation, and conscious living with me. Because when you learn to trust yourself, you don't just change the decisions you make, you change the direction of your life. Until next time, take a breath, listen within, trust yourself, keep rising with purpose, and radiating with love.